Hello guys, welcome back onto the Dutch couch. Is it finally going to happen? This is something that's massively needed for English football. The Premier League needs this, big time in my opinion. It's paramount it happens this year. We've seen the last 2 or 3 years, the same three that's coming up are going down with an absolute whimper, not competing, right? This year, I've got to say, all three teams are competing. It's unreal. I think this is brilliant for the Premier League, and I've slaughtered this league so much. This is great. It feels so different this year. I've looked at Sunderland. I'll tell you what, I was so confident in the summer. I'm going to go back on it now. I'm so confident in the summer that all three teams will get relegated again. I had an £100 bet with a friend of mine, a lifelong friend, that the three would go down. And I'll tell you what, I will never be so happy to lose £100. I think this is great, and it's great to watch. You're seeing every team, all these three teams are going toe to toe. None of them look out of their depth. The last time that happened, I can't remember. Even Burnley, they've won 3 in 9. Leeds have won 3 in 9. Sunderland have won 5 out of 9 games as a newly promoted team. And Sunderland in particular, I've got to say, Reggie Debree's gone into that club, absolutely galvanised it. The whole club looks united from the ballroom down to the playing staff. They look as one. That's not happened at Sunderland for a long time, in my opinion. They was in League One, never looked like they was going to get out of there at one point. They was in the mire. They looked terrible, but they looked, from the first game of the season against West Ham, they just looked like a Premier League team. They look at home here. It's great to see. Brilliant fan base. And them limbs at Chelsea on Saturday, honestly, that was brilliant. Tell some of those clubs. I've had fans on videos before saying to me, we've got promoted, but the Premier League, it's actually not that good. It's an anti-climax. It's rubbish when you get there. I can't wait to get relegated back to the Championship. Try telling that to these Sunderland fans at the moment. They're on top of the world. Rightly so. But the recruitment's been brilliant. I mean, Granit Xhaka, obviously the captain there now, brought him in from Bayer Leverkusen, right? Honestly, the experience, not just the experience, the absolute quality of the man. He's a top-notch football player. And what he's giving to those young players around him that Reggie Debree has brought in through the transfer market is unreal. Never estimate the influence that Xhaka's had on that club. I think every single Sunderland fan will tell you what an amazing player he is and what an amazing captain he is. He was at Arsenal for years, and I think if he would have stayed at Arsenal for another year when they bought Rice, I think they would have won the title that year. But the recruitment's been brilliant. Masterstroke with him. They're sitting 5th, right? They're sitting 4th, sorry, top 4. They're sitting 4th with 18 points. That's unbelievable. 5 wins in 9. Isidore, this is the only difference between, I'd say, Sunderland and the other two. They look like they've got a natural goal scorer there. Isidore, he just looks at home. He looks like a Premier League striker straight away. He's like a duck in water. He just looks at home. Whereas the other two, I wonder where the goals are coming from. That's the only thing I'd say about them. But Sunderland, I go back to them, brave in possession. Every time they get a ball in possession, they're forward thinking, toe to toe. You see so many promoted clubs come up here, sit back, and show no bravery at all. They're on a hiding to nothing. They get spanked 4-5-0 every week. Sunderland, when I watch Sunderland games, I look at teams and they're not even creating loads of chances against this newly promoted team. It's unreal, the defensive recruitment there, the defensive signings they've made in the summer, unbelievable. They've all just settled in so well. Don't get me wrong, it's a massive bonus for these that the likes of Wolves, West Ham and Forest have been dreadful. That is an absolute added bonus for these. But that don't take away from how these have come into this league and approached it. They've been excellent, all three of these teams. I'm looking at Leeds, 3 wins already, right? What I see with Leeds, I don't see there's not a team of superstars, but what I see with them is a team. It's as simple as that. Collectively, they're so strong. Every player knows their job. They know their role. I'm not seeing, when I watch Leeds games, I'm not watching anybody let their teammates do the running for them. They run their asses off. They're relentless. Collectively, they're fantastic. Out of possession, collectively, they are fantastic. But they also play some good football. Don't take away from that. They play some excellent football, Leeds. I watched them again against West Ham the other night. The first half an hour, they absolutely took West Ham. They played them off the park. I know it's not difficult at the moment because West Ham are dreadful. But some of the football was really good, really enjoyable. First touch, positive touch. And it wasn't all sideways backwards like you see a lot of this stagnant Premier League football now. They actually went for the throat. And they used their best attributes. They used the best attributes in their game. They know what they're good at and they use it. Clever. I think Daniel Farke's done a really good job actually. I wasn't sure when they came into the Premier League with him. He looks tactically, I think he's got it spot on the whole. Really, they will take a couple of hidings leads. I think they will. They've already took one at Arsenal, I think. But I think they'll be okay. The only worry I have with Leeds is where the goals are going to come from. I watched them against West Ham, and other than the 2 goals they scored, they was a little bit wasteful. I'm hoping Calvert-Lewin comes good. I'm not even sure he's scored a Premier League goal for them yet, but he's a presence. If they get runners in and around him, they could be dangerous. So I think they're going to be okay. Burnley, they've won 3 out of 9. They've surprised me massively because I thought Burnley of the 3 would be the whipping boys. There's no disrespect to them, but I expected them to come in and be whipping boys. I did expect that. I'm not sure if there's enough goals in them again. That's the only thing I worry about them. But what I do like about Burnley, they are full of character. I mean, they played Leeds, one of the other teams I'm talking about, last week. And Leeds, let's get it right, Leeds created so much, but were wasteful on the day. The final ball was poor. Burnley, possession-wise, Leeds absolutely trounced them. Burnley won the game. That is what you have to do. When you're these teams in the lower reaches of the Premier League, you're not always going to dominate possession. It's impossible. You've come from the Championship. So you're not going to come into the Premier League and dominate teams. That's not going to happen. At home, you might do it a few games, but on the whole, it's not going to happen. But when teams dominate you, and that was on their own pitch actually, Leeds dominated them at Turf Moor, you've got to pick up the points. And that's what they've done. And the manager will be happy for that. That showed a lot of character that day. And I'll tell you what, Kyle Walker, we talk about signings, I think Kyle Walker was an absolute masterstroke. And they talk about players losing their pace. He's full of quality anyway. He's got massive experience. He's won trophies everywhere. I saw an interview of him the other day, and he said the biggest achievement I will have, bigger than any trophy I've ever won, would be if Burnley stay up. That not only shows to me that he knows the challenge that he's got ahead of him, but that shows me that he went there because he loves that challenge. So mentality-wise, I think that's brilliant. His attitude was brilliant there. He could have gone abroad. He could have stayed abroad and earned loads of money. But he's come back here into Premier League to prove a point. I can help these stay up, even though everybody else is saying they're going to be 20th. They're going to get trounced every week. Brilliant from him. But he hasn't lost his pace. I saw a clip of him in that game. Wow. Unbelievable. He looked like an 18-year-old still. He is so fit and quick. Unreal. But character, I say, about Burnley. 2-0 up at Wolves. Bear in mind, Wolves are bottom of the league, so they're fighting. They're fighting for this. They come back to 2-2. I'm expecting Wolves to score a third and win the game. Burnley go and score a late winner away from home. That shows me a bit of a difference in them this time around than when they was in the Premier League before. That shows me a total different side of them. They took a battering, getting the 2 goals against them to come back, and you're thinking, oh, nah, they're going to wilter you. They came back and scored a winner. Massive 3 points at Molineux for them. Unbelievable 3 points. Manager's done a great job there, to be honest. If these 3 teams can get through the first season, that is vital. You've got to get through that first season, then you build. These 3 have only got to look at the likes of, I don't know, Bournemouth, who I think are sitting second in the Premier League, and Brighton. There's no bigger role models than them clubs who have come up from the Championship, survived, built, and now are thriving. The recruitment at them teams has been unreal. The coaching at them teams has been unreal. Bournemouth in particular, I think they get gates of about 10,500. For them to be sitting second in the Premier League, and I've got to say, Bournemouth are one of the only teams in the Premier League I look at and think, do you know that they're not a bore to watch? They're actually great to watch. They use the wide players brilliantly. It's a massive part of Iriola's way of playing there. I think they're fantastic. And these 3 teams need to look at them clubs and think, do you know what? We can get there. We can be them. We can be where they are now if we do things the right way. Sunderland sky's the limit for them. They've got the massive stadium already. So have Leeds. They've got a great stadium. They've got the fan base. So have Leeds. I know Burnley have got a smaller fan base and a smaller ground. Sorry. Everything's there for these clubs to thrive. But the problem is, the gap between, we know the gap between the Championship and the Premier League has been absolutely mammoth, humongous. But the clubs like Coventry at the moment who are absolutely tearing it up with Frank Lampard in charge, he's done an unbelievable job. They must be looking at this thinking, do you know what? If we get in there and we recruit well, we can actually do something. Listen, it might go tits up in the second half of the season. It has for other teams. Sunderland, no disrespect to them, I'm not expecting Sunderland to sit in the top four at the end of the season. Realistically, I can't see that. I don't think many Sunderland fans would honestly believe that's possible. They would have took 17th at the beginning of the season. Mark my words on that. But the job that they've done there in the recruitment, in the way that they've drilled the team, they look a well-oiled machine. I keep going back to Sunderland because I'm so impressed with them. Every player knows his role. There doesn't seem like there's anyone sulking who's on the bench. The atmosphere the environment just seems perfect. How he's managed that, Reggie Lebris, he's brilliant. He's done a great job. Unbelievable job. But like I say, some teams have come up and some fans have said to me on videos prior that I've done on my channel, on this channel here, right, when I've talked about promoted teams, they've said, listen, the journey was brilliant to get to the Premier League, but once we're there, it is the biggest anti-climax. No one wants to sit there losing 4-0 watching a team get spanked every week in a tourist-filled stadium with crap atmospheres. I totally get that. I massively get that. But the truth is, the Premier League is the place to be. I'll do videos and I'll slate the Premier League left, right and centre. There's so much bad about it that I don't like. But when I see teams, unfancied teams, come up and turn over the likes of Chelsea in their own backyard with an injury time winner, that gives me hope. That gives me hope for this league. And I'll tell you what, that away end on Saturday at the Bridge, that must have been amazing to be in. I watched about 50 videos. In the end, I felt like I was there myself. It was brilliant to see those Sunderland fans. They were absolutely they were in cloud nine, mate, on cloud nine big time. Excellent. You try telling that to Sunderland that it's an anticlimax, or Leeds fans, or Burnley now. Try telling them that it's better to be in the Championship. At the moment, they'll be going, nah, because they're competing. And this is a rarity. I look at the likes of Southampton when they came up with Russell Martin, right? Shocking manager. Was in the Championship. He was terrible at Rangers as well, wasn't he? In the Championship, playing out from the back. You got away with it. You come to the Premier League, you were losing goals left, right and centre because you was trying to play. You had players that was not capable of playing the way that you wanted to play, but you never changed. And to the detriment of Southampton. In the end, they went down with an absolute whimper after he got sacked because the team was in such a state after he went. Confidence never regained. They were an absolute mess. But I'm looking at these teams. I look at so many teams in the past, right? They've come up from the Championship. You've had teams who they just won't change. They won't change for nothing. They think they come up from the Championship and they think, right, we'll play exactly the same way. We'll be fine. It doesn't work like that. It's cutthroat. This league is at such a high standard in terms of player and all these systems, and there's a lot of intelligence in this league that you haven't seen in the Championship. It's a different level. It's absolute night and day. So when you come here, you've got to be clever about things. Sometimes you've got to go back to basics. And I'll tell you what, Arsenal are sitting top of the Premier League at the moment, right? And do you know why they're sitting top of the Premier League? Because they've gone back to basics. We can use set pieces to score. We'll score from corners. We'll take a long throw. Now everybody's doing it. Arsenal have scored 5 goals from open play in 9 games and they're sitting 4 points clear of the Premier League. That shows me that Mikel Arteta is clever enough to go back to basics. You don't have to be clever. That's what he's done. Teams see this as the promised land, don't they? But when you get there, for me, it's all about how you approach it. These teams at the moment, and the coaches, the head coaches of these clubs, have been clever enough to approach it in the right way. They know how to approach games. I saw Burnley against Liverpool at Turf Moor, right? Burnley went toe to toe with them. Liverpool, I expected Liverpool to turn up 4-5-0. Absolutely, play them off the park, pass round them like they don't exist. They needed a 96-minute penalty, I think it was. It's this sort of thing. There is so much hope this season. And like I said earlier, the bonus is that teams at the bottom that are in the Premier League already, some of them are in an absolute mess. The difference between these three and some of those teams is one word: organisation. I looked at West Ham at Leeds. They're playing fullbacks on the opposite side to where they're used to playing. The organisation is dreadful. In and out of possession, they're terrible. At the moment, I think they're nailed on. I think at the moment it looks as though Wolves and West Ham are absolute nailed on to go down. And it's one from any amount of teams. I really do believe that these three teams are capable of surviving if they're clever, if they take it game by game. It's going to come. They're going to get a heavy defeat. It's how they react to that. It's momentum as well in this league. If you go on a run of 2-3 defeats, it's hard to get out of. Liverpool are finding that. They're current champions. They've lost 4 league games in a row, I think. They're in a rut. If you get yourself in a rut and you're at the bottom, it is doubly as hard to get out of it. If they can just pick up points, pick a point up, like Liverpool last week, when they played Man United and they come back to 1-1, Slot should have took the point. Should have took the point to stop the rut. He never. He kept going. It's football suicide. Left themselves open and they lost to Man United in the last few minutes. Harry Maguire at Anfield. Football suicide. Game management. This is what I'm seeing from Sunderland in particular. The game management has been fucking on another level. It's been brilliant. And Reggie LeBreed has to take so much credit, but also Granit Xhaka. Because I think as much as the coach, Reggie LeBreed there, I think Granit Xhaka is the coach on the pitch when they're playing. I think he absolutely demands a lot from his teammates. He commands. He tells them what he's want, and he's getting what he's asking from them teammates. But they should be able to compete at least all these teams this season. I'm not going to drone on. All I'm going to say is I'll be happy to lose that £100 to my lifelong friend, and all these 3 teams stay up. That would be absolutely an amazing achievement, and then build on. But yeah, have a good one.